fans, and welcome to another episode of Silver Screens. Tonight we are talking to you about Weirdmageddon Part 2 of Gravity Falls. And as we just learned not too long ago,
it's the penultimate episode. There's only one more. It's going to be an hour-long special sometime in January called Weirdmageddon Part 3. And that is the series finale.
Why?
Because it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Which
and they're
is
ending
great.
it where the story ends instead of pulling a supernatural and continuing to go and there's nothing there.
But they couldn't have pulled Avatar and given us 100 episodes of beginning, middle, and... Anyway, that's neither here nor there. And we'll talk about it a little bit more at the end. Well, we'll talk more at the end as to how we feel about the series as a whole, now knowing that this is the end, because we were talking last week about certain characters' development getting rushed, and basically over the course of the last few episodes, how we feel like there's a lot of traction building towards something, and we kept thinking further down the line this is going to come up, further down the line we'll see more of this, we'll see more of this, character dynamics will change.
Nope. We don't get that.
Nope. We don't get that. Childhood ends, as does every summer. So let's go ahead and get into this episode. So Gravity Falls is still hell, and
I love the Weirdmageddon Day 4, just that we have a time frame for how long this noise has been going on.
And
because otherwise it'd be like, you know, it's still day 1, it's been a couple hours, whatever, because you don't really see the sunrise or set.
Well, and the Bill has been subsequently rounding up everyone in Gravity Falls, freezing them, like turning them to stone, and then stacking them in a throne of human misery, as he put it. Where they may or may not still be conscious.
Maybe. And Lazy Susan wakes up. It's like, no, go get back there. It's just one of those. Sort of. And I'd forgotten that they messed with the theme. So the theme started and then did the whole thing. I was like, oh yeah, we're still in hell.
Yep, nope, that hasn't changed. Although, we quickly moved to a different type of hell.
Oh my god.
A very different type of hell. Although,
well, we have the one big plot point of Bill's gonna send his cronies out into the world to take over everything. Woo-hoo-hoo. There's a big old force field surrounding Gravity Falls. Nobody really knows why.
And Bill is furious. It's so funny because
his tantrum. It's just one of those things where it's like,
walk it off!
Why is this guy in charge? Why is he in charge?
Probably because he could probably beat up most of them.
Oh yeah, omnipotence.
Yeah, but the, it's just so funny because this could be a number of things. It could be whatever weirdness, you know, that exists within the fault lines of Gravity Falls that attracts all this supernatural stuff to begin with.
Keeps it there.
That might be it. It could very well be alien technology.
It could be unicorn hair or the power of love. We just don't know.
It could be the maybe because this is where the portal was created, that there's only a certain field around which the tear in the universe that it can be encompassed in.
But we get a really interesting wide shot of like this little bubble of the shadow realm, and the rest of it's just blue skies and regular trees.
Which is great because we thought this was the rest of the world at this point.
So it's really interesting to put it and see, no, this is the scale.
And it is kind of cool to see Gravity Falls, you know, for it being a tourist attraction, seeing this horror confined to what is essentially a snow globe. So I thought that was kind of
human
cool.
misery.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool that it very much resembled a souvenir that you could probably buy at the Mystery Shack.
On one hand, I find it really interesting that nobody has seen this yet, on account of this thing is probably visible from the air, at least. And if it's still summer, it's still wrapping up, it's still tourist season, you would still have people coming up to visit. So 4 days in the age of the internet, I would be extremely surprised if other people didn't know about it. On the other hand, I get it being the conceit of it's a very small town in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it's also entirely possible that not only does the bubble that exists keep the things inside from getting out, it's entirely possible that it keeps everything outside from getting in.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, but you can still drive up to the edge of the bubble, be like, what in the Sam hell is this? Take some pictures and then say, hey, this is going on. It's around the town of Gravity Falls. What the heck is going on?
Maybe that has happened. Maybe
That's
some
what I'm
of
thinking.
the government officials who were assigned to the town, like, came by on a routine inspection because they've had their memories wiped. They came by just as a routine check, and there's this giant bubble there now filled with what looks like the apocalypse. And then you take that back to headquarters, and maybe by the time everybody gets out of this bubble, the National Guard is on the edges, like pointing their rifles and stuff like that. It's also entirely possible that when they all saw that, when the government or whatever saw that hell was essentially crawling out onto Earth and wreaking havoc, it's entirely possible that they went the Simpsons route, like the Simpsons movie, and just put a big old dome over it. They're just like, we'll deal with that later.
Putting a cup over a spider. I do that. I wait till she gets home.
It's scary. I don't want to deal with it.
I do that. It's like, oh, that's a spider. Megan will be home in 4 hours.
You get one of your shoes
Nope.
and you
Nope.
smash it. It's
Nope.
not that big a deal.
Nope. Cup.
What if it gets out of the cup?
Big spider. That's why you put a book on top of the cup. I have a lot of books.
What if you knock over the book?
I don't do that.
What if the cat knocks over the book?
The cat would be too scared to go near it. Have you seen this cat? I'm kind of a fraidy cat.
I don't know.
She's a sweetheart. But
She looks like a troublemaker to me. Anyway,
well,
that's
she is, but she doesn't go knocking over books. She's afraid of the bookshelf.
That's neither here nor there. I don't know. I've seen her jump up onto that bookshelf.
Well, that's
before.
your bookshelf. When she tried to jump on my bookshelf, she jumped on a mound of papers and it dumped her tail right off.
Oh, you better.
My
not.
bookshelf is booby-trapped.
Don't knock down my ghost face. That's too cute. Or my pictures. Mostly the pictures.
Mostly
because
the pictures.
Ghost face will survive. He
Your
tends to do
bookshelf is not booby-trapped. Mine really is.
that. Point being, although mine is probably more shoddily constructed because I am not good at that.
Walmart furniture.
Best of my limited ability. Anyway, neither here nor there. So when Dipper and crew finally make it inside the boat, although Bill does also say that he wants to round up Gideon, and Gideon's probably going to have to pay for letting Dipper and Wendy and Zeuss go.
Oh, there's no probably about it, and there's no probably about him paying. But I would not be surprised if Bill waits until he gets the Pines family and is just like, this is what happens.
This is what happens when people stand in my way. Boom.
Take the barrier down or Gideon gets it. Or something.
I don't know. It could be that he's not getting off scot-free like we might have thought would be coming on later on down the line. But we finally get into the bubble. And it is exactly what we expected.
Floaty ridiculous hell.
Yep, it's
a bouncy castle and stuffed animals and everything's happy and shiny and the same meaty has been on repeat.
It's like when
for
she was
days.
high on Smile Dip.
Ayoshima actually showed up.
So did the giant backwards talking dog in the background at one point. Ayoshima
Duck Detective was there.
Yeah, there were just so many fun, cute, and I loved her substitute for Dipper, which we both pointed out looks like one of the Burger King kid mascots from when we were kids.
You've got all these relatively normal-looking Burger King kids, and then there's that guy with the Cyclops glasses and the backwards. I honestly think that that's what he was. The Burger King mascot with a Dipper recolor.
It's way too close for him not to be. Like, there's absolutely no way that that was a coincidence.
No, it looked way too much. And it was extremely 90s.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. And
what was he called?
Dip something? Something, I don't remember.
Dipstick.
Yeah, and so they initially think that Mabel is being held captive in this tower, like Sleeping Beauty, but really she created all this. So I would have been very interested to see what she saw when she initially woke up, if it was just a white void, and then she started thinking of things, and things just started appearing, and then it just went from there. Like, she's like, oh, I can control this world.
She did say, I created it, well, I kind of woke up here, well, it's complicated. So I would imagine that a lot of it was just created from her hallucinations, her daydreams, or whatever. And then all of the creations urged her, oh, it's Mabel World. Oh, it's your thing. Oh, you're in charge. Oh, you can do whatever you want. And then she starts testing the limits and making more stuff. And yeah, so I think it was more a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
And I'm trying to think of what specifically this reminds me of. What fantasy realm that isn't actually everything you think it is, but it's, I guess, Coraline. That's it. The other world with the other mother. I was trying to think of what exactly, where it seems sweet and it seems like it's everything you could ever want, and just hiding beneath the surface is something dark and sinister that wants to eat you.
Well, and this is not the first time that we've used this trope.
Oh, no,
if you can't keep them there by force, you entice them there. Here's everything you could ever want. Why would you want to?
Percy Jackson did that, right? The casino in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the book, not the stupid movie. I haven't read the book. I haven't watched the movie.
The book did do that, yeah. On the movie,
But the idea that, like, this place is very pleasant, it's very calming, and what
oh no, it's a freaking crack trip. But it's Mabel.
And everything, and she has such good intentions. And what she says to Dipper, it really hits home. She's like, look, everybody's happy. Who cares if it's real? And you should. Like, even she deep down knows that this isn't a good thing, but that doesn't keep our hearts from breaking when Zeuss's dad comes in and says, Mijo, I want to play a round of catch. Or when Wendy's friends
I have the body of a pro wrestler and a face that you've seen on a hot sauce bottle one time. I am perfect in every way. Let's play catch. It's like, no, that's unfair.
That is really unfair, because even though Zeuss has moved on with his life and is very much like he knows what's important, when you do that, that is not fair. That is absolutely not fair.
Because I mean, the Wendy temptation was kind of surface and kind of hilarious and exactly what you'd expect, because most of the Mabel temptations around, aside from the underlying, I don't want to leave, I'm afraid of growing up, most of it's surface stuff. The Zeuss one, that, you know, a surface thing for him would be, here's a giant pizza, go.
Yeah, it could have just been food appearing, and it would have been a punchline. But having his father,
or an idealized version of his father,
appear and saying, all I want to do is play a round of catch with my boy, like, that's awful. That is awful.
And they do it again later on with Wendy showing up to sit next to Dipper, and it doesn't take long to kind of figure out.
Well, the second she sat down, I was like, is this actually her, or is this a fabrication of her? Because when she said, it got old fast, I was like, okay, maybe this is her. But then, like, the second she started leaning back and she said, you were the smartest person I know. I'm like, oh no, get out, get out.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Well, and I need an adult too. Like, this was borderline disgusting.
This was really, really creepy. Like, and you can be whatever age you want and we can be together. And, you know, pulling the little short flower to be the same height as the flower next to it. It's like, yeah, you can go tell Mabel right now. And then she winks at him. And that, for those of you who remember your details, is what the shapeshifter did. That was the dead giveaway. So that's what snaps him out of it, because he was in there hook, line, and sinker, despite getting over
her. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Moving on with his life, knowing that it's no longer a possibility. It's still just like, did you need those hard strings?
And it's, I actually, like, on the one hand, you can look at this as well as even the Zeuss stuff with his father, and you can kind of roll your eyes and be like, ugh, I thought we were past all this character stuff. All of these characters have moved on with their relationships. But the fact of the matter is that even if you do move on and you do accept reality, there will always be a part of your heart that still longs for that.
Yeah, you can consciously move on, but the heart wants what the heart wants.
Yeah, and
it's just a matter of tempering the id with the superego.
And again, that's what this whole episode is about, because Mabel is like, you know, Dipper, you're always listening to your head. Listen to your heart for once. And she's constantly listening to her heart. And most of the time it has steered her in the right direction, but it can steer you awry. And that is also an important lesson to take away. You know, a lot of times it is important to listen to your head. Most of the time it's important to listen to your head.
Well, and I've seen... wow, sorry, this is just having a night, you guys. I'm having a night. I've seen complaints that this episode was slow, that it stopped the action. And yeah, it did stop the action that we had building up in part 1, but... we needed this. We needed these character moments. We needed to resolve it, and we needed to resolve it before the final showdown with Bill.
Which is
because if you think that it stopped the action now, it would have been worse during the 1-hour season finale. It's better to kind of resolve the emotional beats now and put your team together as best you can for the final push. Because that's what makes it really great, is to have everyone functioning at their best when push comes to shove. As opposed to, okay, we're going to try and put things together and we're still not getting along, and you know, never mind that we're the backbone of this show, but
yeah.
Like, no, they needed the time to cement this before they moved on.
Not to announce my age or anything like that, but the comparison I'm going to make is the finale of Outlaw Star. You know, the finale of Outlaw Star, there's this, you know, they're grouped together. For those of you who don't know, it's about a bunch of space bounty hunters, and it's awesome. And it's
Watch Outlaw Star.
Watch Outlaw Star. It's kind of amazing.
Fun.
But there's this group together, and they have to make it to the end of this mystical gateway to save one of their friends, basically. And so they're all grouped together, and slowly, one by one, they keep having to pair off with different adversaries to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And it would make absolutely zero sense if in the middle of that action of having to keep moving forward and fighting and everything like that, if all of a sudden, in the middle of that, the, like, maybe say 2 main characters that are left before we get on to the very, very final showdown, just decide to, hey, you know that thing we've been fighting about? Maybe we should resolve that before I leave you here to fight that guy and I go over there. Is that okay with you? You want to talk it out?
You take care of that noise before. And then you go.
And then you move on. So yeah, anyway, that's a bad analogy. It's thinking like, of Outlaw Star for some reason.
It's like hitting the final save point in any given RPG when they're telling you, are you sure you don't have any other things you want to complete? You take care of all your side quests, you talk to all the characters, you do all of the mini games, you take care of all that stuff, because once you hit final boss territory, there is no turning back. I keep thinking of Undertale. You hit Asgore, and it's like, make sure you do all your conversations. Like Asgore himself is telling you, do all your conversations and take care of all your stuff, because once this starts, there's no turning back. And he's not wrong. And that's the point we're at now. We're, oh God, I'm making Bill and Flowey comparisons, and it is messing with my brain.
Which one do you think is creepier? Because on the one hand, Bill doesn't have a mouth to smile like Flowey does. We should probably put a spoiler description BTW.
I am going to do this as spoiler-free for Undertale as I possibly can, because you guys should all play it. It's on Steam. If you're not going to play it, watch the Game Grumps playthrough. It's a pretty comprehensive pacifist run, with the exception of a few things at the end.
Also, be a pacifist.
Do the pacifist run. Do the path. Just yeah, play it or watch it. It's a really good game. Do the
anyway,
thing. We've
gotten sidetracked. Moving on.
Bill exists very firmly on one side of the fourth wall. I would venture to say that he is the more powerful of the two in that sense. But a lot of Bill's is a lot of shock value and a lot of, whoa, he just did a creepy thing, and oh, okay. Flowey gets on the other side of the fourth wall, to the point where you're not sure if you're playing as the character or if he's talking to you, the player. And there's some...
Pretty sure he's talking to you.
It is extremely well done. Like, you're kind of sitting there going, what's going on? How much of this is, like, am I part of the story now?
They pulled a never-ending story on you.
Undertale has some very masterful writing. As far as who's going to win in a fight, Bill. As far as who do I want to meet in a dark alley, neither. Neither. But as far as who screwed me up worse in real life, just thinking about it, Flowey. Oh,
well, that's
man.
also because Flowey is more fresh in your mind. If this was, say, the first time we met Bill, I don't necessarily know if that...
No, I remember the first time we met Bill, and there was definitely some, oh boy, he's summoning demons here, but that's tropes I've kind of seen before. They ease you into Bill. They throw you into Flowey.
Point being, we've talked about Undertale.
Yeah.
And Outlaw Star. We should get back to Gravity Falls.
Point being, we needed this break.
When we see the illusion fall apart for Dipper, it's disgusting and also awesome. And it's pretty great. But then we basically, because he mentions reality and the importance to get back to the real world, now that, again, he knows the truth.
And that's the one rule you can't break in Mabel Town.
Which makes sense given that she's like, when she doesn't want to hear something, she's like, I'm not listening, la 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 la.
Get the fingers! And they have foam fingers they're holding in her ears.
And so they have this trial, the ultimate trial of reality versus fantasy. And this is very, very, very on the nose commentary that we all can kind of relate to, given how many of us, and I'm very much guilty of this myself, I will dive into TV shows or movies when I want to make myself feel better. You know, if I had a hard day at work or just life is just beating you up, something really great about a colorful, bright, funny, sometimes dark cartoon is very comforting.
This is why you don't like reality TV, isn't it?
No, I hate reality TV because it's just awful. No, it's just bad television.
Whereas my current escape is Top Chef.
It's bad storytelling. It's just bad storytelling and it hurts my brain and I feel like I'm losing brain cells when I watch reality TV. I hate reality TV, not because it's reality, but because it's stupid. There.
I've been watching Top Chef.
Which is fine. It's fine if that's your cup of tea and it's about cooking, so that's great. I just hate all the stupid petty stuff and the I'm gonna be the repetitive character or whatever caricature characters of what supposedly real people. Shut up, reality TV. You suck and you know it. Anywho, you did this. Anyway. I like my storytelling to be...
I just wanted that saved for posterity.
Anyway.
It's been a long day, you guys.
And I like Gravity Falls not because it's a fictional story, but because it's smart. It's because it's clever. It's witty. And when I watch reality TV, I feel like I'm actively losing brain cells. When I watch Gravity Falls, I am both amused and intrigued, and I'm thinking...
Slightly horrified.
I'm slightly horrified, and I'm thinking about what everything means in the grand scheme of things. When I watch reality TV, I go, how long until I can turn off the TV? Because this hurts me. Anyway. You asked! We're done talking about other shows. We're talking about Gravity Falls.
Are we really?
We're talking about Gravity Falls now. So we have the trial, and Mabel's two male fantasy characters make a great case. And I will be honest, the flashbacks in this episode made me tear up. They hit me right in my heart area-ish.
Right in the chesticles.
Yeah. If I had a heart, that's... No, I do have a heart because I was crying.
With these Valentine's things, like, oh, you're the one kid in class that didn't receive a Valentine. Like, did no one else go to elementary school where you had to bring a Valentine for everyone regardless? It was meaningless unless somebody put candy in theirs? And you saved the ones with the really good pictures on them? Like, was that?
Like, yeah, in my classes when I was a kid, we had to bring if you were going to bring Valentine's Days, you know, you had to bring them for everybody.
And that's why they sell kids Valentines in packs of like 24.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You put everyone's names on there and put them in the little
everybody
mailbox.
gets one.
I didn't get a Valentine just feels really disingenuous to me because it keeps coming up in fiction, and I'm like, does anyone do that?
The one thing that I will say is Alex Hirsch seems to draw a lot of influence from The Simpsons.
That's true.
And so back in the day, there was a Simpsons episode where Ralph...
choose me.
Yeah. And so we had a very similar payoff here in terms of like how heart-wrenching it is, and then how nice it is to see somebody who didn't get a Valentine get possibly the best Valentine they'll ever receive. So yeah, that was very, yeah, it's a contrivance at this point, but again, knowing that Alex Hirsch very much has been influenced by The Simpsons, I don't know if he's ever gone on record from saying it, but just watching Gravity Falls, I'm like, oh, that's a Simpsons joke, that's a Simpsons joke, and I don't think it's a conscious, like, I'm stealing that joke. I think it's just something that's embedded it's something that gets embedded in our cultural consciousness. And so it ends up in other works of fiction, things like that. So, like I said, I don't think it was a conscious plagiarism thing, but that's what it reminded me of. And maybe that's just because that's my frame of reference. I don't know. But the gum in the hair, that sucks. I've definitely gotten gum in my hair. It is just the worst.
Someone put gum in my hair in high school.
Why would they? Yeah. Like, purposely?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a douche. If it makes you feel better, somebody put a kick me sign on my back when I was in middle school in shop class when I was working this little saw thing. And people came up behind me and kicked the back of my legs while I'm working this saw thing. Isn't that awful? Children are awful. Middle school is terrible. Dipper and Mabel are going to have a hell of a time in high school.
I actually liked high school.
I'm just saying, children are terrible. Awful, awful, awful. Anyway.
So we can all relate.
So yes, it's very easy to see why Mabel, especially when she is at her most emotionally vulnerable, would want to retreat into a fantasy world, would want to cover her ears and go, la 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 la, I'm not listening.
And then Dipper pulls out the ends of those memories where it's, no, we've always been there for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Although I thought for sure Dipper was just going to give her his hat.
Yeah.
And not do the razor thing like, there's practical solutions and then there's the Pines twins.
It's very much Uncle Marshall regrets
that might have been the point. This is one of them.
So those were all very sweet. And like I said, I teared up. I'm not gonna lie, I have brothers, I teared up.
And then we had the judge, who was voiced by Jon Stewart. Formerly of The Tonight Show.
Do you want to tell this story?
Daily Show.
Yeah, Daily Show. As to why he was in this?
Evidently, a while ago, Alex Hirsch was in the audience for The Daily Show, like the live studio audience. And afterwards, Jon Stewart pulled him aside and said, thank you for giving me something I can watch with my kids. And then, you know, they bring Jon Stewart in to voice a Judge Kitty.
Meow, meow, meow.
I'll allow it. Cats are naturally curious.
I am very excited to see more of what, now that he's, I missed him on The Daily Show. The new guy is great. But I missed him on The Daily Show, and I can't wait to see what else he has in store further on down the line, because he's
just got a contract with HBO, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was HBO, but yeah, he's got something in the works. He's got something in the works. So
he's got something for a paid channel, so that will occur.
Yay, work! That's always fantastic in entertainment. Anywho, so basically Mabel goes, I reject your reality and substitute my own, even though this was my own. And as such,
I reject my reality and substitute everyone else's!
And as such, she loses control, or I guess the illusion of control.
That's
in this
pretty much
world.
it, yeah.
And so they have to make a quick getaway.
And everything transforms into horrific, ugly things made of maggots and chase them, because, you know, for kids.
Well, and I like that when they make their escape, she's the one that bursts the bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, that this was her fantasy and she had to escape it, and I like that. I
love that the confetti was real, though, and her two fantasy guys.
They survived, man. They survived.
Are we real?
And apparently they have...
Can quote Sart.
They have, like, some sort of degree in criminal law, criminal and international law. That's just spectacular.
And they quote Sart.
Yeah. totally righteous, dude. I love them so much. But so they, and I love Mabel's reaction of, well, reality can't be that bad. Oh.
Just, you know, the giant goat walking around, everything is hell.
She's just like, oh man. And so they make their way over to the shack, where we get a group of ragtag survivors, including Grunkle Stan, which I'm
led by Grunkle Stan. He's wearing a sash that says Chief.
And Candy's there, Grenda's there, Pacifica's there,
McGucket,
Multi-Bear,
the guy with the woodpecker,
the biker guy, and the Manitor. And I'm trying to think of if I'm missing anybody. The cop as well. Gnomes, and yes,
a handful of gnomes.
And the unicorn! Yeah. The jerk unicorn! And they're all taking refuge in the shack, which does...
Because it's protected.
Again, yes, very much. It's protected from Bill's wrath, but it makes me think that the outside bubble of Gravity Falls is very much tied to something in the shack.
Probably.
That's my guess. I don't know.
You know, we do have the secret lab that Dipper knows about.
Exactly. Hush, hush.
Also, Dipper pretty much told Mabel, yeah, no, I'm not taking the internship. I'm going back home with you.
And in all honesty, to have... Because on the one hand, he would be brilliant, and he would do amazing things as Ford's apprentice, but he would also have no life. He would have no childhood. He would be a
copy of Ford, and that's just like, we don't need that.
And on the one hand, Ford is a great man, but he doesn't have a family life. He doesn't have friends. He's done and seen amazing things, but at the end of the day, if you have no one to share that with, what's it worth? Exactly. So Dipper would be great, and there's absolutely no reason he can't continue his studies in this field when they go back home. And yeah, so the only plus side is that he gets to do it and grow up with Mabel. Yeah. And that is definitely a plus. And in all honesty, Ford telling him he needs to push his sister out of his life, that's not
You are
good
projecting, bro.
Advice,
you are projecting.
Basically saying she's holding you back. It's like he's trying to validate his own decisions.
He really is.
Yeah.
This is what happened to me, and it's right. Right? Right?
Right. Tell me that I'm right.
Look at all of the wrong that has occurred in the world.
And yet he is in such denial about it. Like never at any point does Ford think that he was wrong to push his brother out of his life.
Overall, this is what really bothers me about this season as a whole. And I keep thinking of Arrow Season 3 because there were pacing issues with that, and they talked with the producer and he said, yeah, if I could have redone it, I would have shortened this bit and spent a lot more time here because it really got cut short by the time we hit, for Arrow, it was the League of Assassins. And so for here, we spend the first half of the season wrapping up a few character things from Season 1 and then setting up the infrastructure bringing forward. And then we have the second half of the season, and we've had, this is what, 20 some odd episodes? So we had 10 in the front half and 10 in the back, and that is not enough time to develop Ford to the point where he's a sympathetic character, to the point where the audience gives a damn.
Yeah, I mean, the most sympathetic thing about him is that he's voiced by J.K. Simmons, and that immediately makes him lovable on one level.
Bring me photos of Bill Cipher.
Find the poems of Bill Cipher.
It's
just the following rhyme scheme.
It's that easy. It's that easy. But this is the sort of thing where I do wish Gravity Falls had been 3 seasons, so we could have a lot more build-up for Season 2 and end Season 2 with "He's my brother," and then start Season 3 on that same note and get to know Ford better and get to see Stan and Ford balance better, because we have very, very few episodes with them together. And I get that it's kind of a small nuclear apocalypse every time it happens because they just don't get along. But we needed more from them, and we really needed more from Ford because we haven't had a season and a half with him to help build things up and to see the emotional side and to see any other part of him, or to build the mystery about, you know, what's behind the vending machine. We didn't have the time. And so we're at this point where it's like, oh no, Ford's in a terrible situation. He's all petrified. And I'm like, So It's like, all right, you done screwed up. Let's see how everyone else fixes it. I don't care. And if they kill him off, oh well. If they killed off any of the other Pines, there'd be rioting in the streets. But if they kill off Ford, it's like, I feel really bad for Stan. I feel really bad for Stan. It's like,
and
oh, Ford's dead
as well.
Sucks to be you, buddy.
For me, because and let's go ahead and talk about the season as a whole, because we were talking last episode about.
So we have 11 minutes of battery.
I know. We're wrapping it up. I'm looking at that. But we have essentially, we were talking about it last time that we felt Gideon's character development was really rushed. And there were a lot of things we felt were really rushed, but that we were willing to forgive because we felt further on down the line, like when we got a season 3, that a lot of this stuff would be panned out a little bit more evenly, that we would see the character arcs, that we would get to see more development, that we would get to see maybe Dipper and Pacifica get together, things like that.
The not-so-mythical season 3.
The not-so-mythical season 3. So there were a lot of things that were going on pacing-wise we were willing to forgive in terms of character development because we were like, hey, they'll, in season 3, this is stuff to explore. And now that we know that this is the end, all of that feels very rushed and it feels like we're being cheated in terms of character development. And what also gets me is that, again, 3-act structures are the best. I get act 1 and 2, that's fine. But 3-act structures are really solid, having your beginning, middle, and end. And summer is a perfect setup for a 3-act structure. You have May,
June, July, and
August, or May, June, and July.
However you want to.
There are a number of different combinations for it. Hell, if you wanted to, you could do May, June, July, and August if you wanted to turn it into a 4-act thing.
But this basically was June, July, August because we have the getting ready for back to school at the end. So you could have done, you're right, 1 a month.
Yeah, so we could have had 3 seasons of beginning of summer, middle of summer, end of summer. But we rushed it, and on the one hand, I totally get it. I'm not the creator of the show. I don't know what is going on in this world, and he himself has said that he's been working on this show for years and pulled so many all-nighters to make it the best that he can make it, and I am very appreciative of that. That being said, it's like, beginning, middle, end. That's what Avatar did. And granted, Avatar had like 100 episodes. But they did have it all planned out. And again, it had a beginning, a middle, and end. And that's why so many people praise that show. And I'm wondering if when they took their audience survey and they're like, what did you like about season 1 and what would you like to see in season 2? And everybody going more plot. If that kind of put them in a little bit of a bind. If they were like, well, we have plot for 2 more seasons, but if people want a faster pace, then we can give it 2.
I don't think they ever had 2 more seasons.
Well,
I think this was...
After season 1 is what I meant. But
no, I think this was the plan from the get-go.
It's entirely possible, and in all honesty, in the grand scheme of things, less is more. Because it's way better for a show to be cut short than
to pull a Supernatural.
Or a Lost. And actually, Gravity Falls is more of a Lost than a Supernatural because it has this ongoing mystery. And in Lost, it got lost. It got convoluted and it became nonsense. But in Gravity Falls, at least they're putting it in a good place to close the book on everything.
So to speak.
But on the other hand, it's like, and even Alex has said, this isn't goodbye forever. We may see these characters again, but for now, it's time to move on. Summer is at an end.
Give us a theatrical movie.
Summer is at an end.
Gravity Falls.
I would watch that movie.
Watch the heck out of that. Are you kidding?
Yep. But anyway, that basically wraps it up. Is there anything else you want to say about this episode or about what we think might be coming down next?
That's about all I have. I'm waiting to see what happens. I'm expecting it to be mostly action from here on in. We'll see.
Yeah, I think a good portion of next episode is going to be convincing Grunkle Stan that fighting and not hiding is the best solution and that Ford is someone worth saving. Which, if they're going to convince the audience of that, or certain audience members of that, they better they better really sell it.
You know I'm not the only one that thinks that.
I like him, but you're absolutely right. His character development was rushed. But again, J.K. Simmons, just love that man.
I don't think we're going to be able to convince him that Ford is worth going after, because I mean he already is. He spent 30 years learning physics to make a machine he doesn't understand. Yeah. And he didn't really know that the machine, the only thing that the journal said was may cause gravity anomalies. The huge warning in blacklight was something he wouldn't have known until Dipper figured it out.
That's very true.
You know, can't really blame him on that front either.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be a matter of convincing him, no, Gravity Falls is worth saving.
Fair enough. Well, anyway, that basically wraps it up for tonight. Katie, Cullen, where can people go if they want to find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at Kiaxet. That's Kiaxet.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on Instagram as well. You guys can follow Silver Screams on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Silver_Screams for Twitter and Instagram. Just Silver Screams.
The cat does not have social media.
No.
However, we do put pictures of her on my Instagram.
And she is just adorable. You can't see her, but she is just the cutest thing. I hope I don't look like a crazy person petting something off screen. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We want to know, what do you guys think now that Gravity Falls is coming to an end? We want to hear from you.
And what are your predictions for the end?
Exactly. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you all next time.